Dr. Iram, please start now session.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Firdaus. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Iram Saba, Faculty Public Administration at University of Kashmir. Today, I'll be moderating this session. This is precisely the 14th day of International Faculty Development Program, where focus remained research publication excellence from manuscript preparation to the successful journal acceptance. This 15-day International Faculty Development Program is organized by Jammu and Kashmir Economic Association and Social Science and Humanities International in collaboration with Global South Research Foundation, B.S. Badur Rahman Crescent, Institute of Science and Technology, School of Business Manav Rachna University Faridabad, and College Vocational Studies, University of Delhi. I heartily welcome our speaker of the day, Dr. Maleeha Ashraf. She's an associate professor and she will be deliberating about the tackling the gender biases in higher education careers, potential in Pakistan, online opportunities post COVID-19. Dr. Maleeha has been in teaching in UK higher education for more than 15 years. She has completed her PhD at Institute of Education, University of College London, where she is now an honorary postdoc fellow. Her research ranges from the part of the British Council Pakistan and Higher Education Commission funded projects. Her focus remained on mentoring relationships between senior and junior academic staff in higher education. She leads and designs the global strategy, sustainability, and international business modules in UK higher education and was awarded funds to complete certification in sustainable business strategies from Harvard Business School online in 2021. She is senior fellow at Advanced Higher Education, a charter member in business management, and is currently associate professor at the University of Law, Manchester. I welcome you, ma'am. Uh, and before we proceed with the session, I request all the participants kindly mute your mic so that the speaker will have a smooth and very flowy session. Thank you so much. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Iram. It's very nice meeting you all. And Dr. Firdaus Ahmed, thank you so much for this opportunity to become a part of this event. Um, it was a great time, like, the couple of occasions when I joined the session and I was getting an opportunity to meet with the colleagues who were sharing their journey for the publication. It's not long ago when I met with Dr. Firdaus, and it was a great pleasure meeting with him. And thank you so much for giving this opportunity to become and present my research journey today. Um, it was a beautiful introduction, Dr. Iram. Thanks for your research and presenting it. I will share my screen and we'll start with the journey. That how I started with the research publication. So, one second. Dr. Iram, please do let me know in case if you can see the screen.
Yeah, definitely, I will.
Any possibility if I share my slides with you and you can put it up? Because I just changed my laptop today for some reasons, the technical issue with my laptop. So I think so it's troubling me with the sharing the slides. Is this okay? If I
Yeah,
just share these slides in the chat and then you can.
I think you can mail me that PPT so that I'll share it from my side, or Dr. Firdaus will see the things. Dr. Firdaus, is it possible?
Yes, please, share in chat, then I will upload it. Whatever is convenient for you, you can either email or
Thank you so
chat.
much. Thank you. Thank you. Let me just send through email. Sincere apologies for this disturbance, but the technical issues sometimes are beyond control. Dr. Firdaus, I have shared through email, and let me just try in case if I can upload it in the chat box too. So we will have a convenience either. Please do let me know when you receive the slides, and till the time, I will introduce myself as Dr. Iram has kindly introduced me, that I'm currently working with the University of Law in the business school. It's almost 19 years that I've been teaching in the UK higher education. And during my PhD, it was a great pleasure working with the British Council Pakistan and also with the Higher Education Commission Pakistan. And my research proposal was accepted. It was accepted by British Council and Higher Education. So this paper today that I'm sharing the journey about the publication of this tackling the gender biases in higher education career in Pakistan. It is one of the chapter of my PhD work. And as I mentioned that my proposal was accepted by British Council and I received the funding from British Council Pakistan. It was the collaboration between University College London and British Council Pakistan to work on this proposal. So we started to gather information. The data was collected. It was a primary data, but specifically for this particular paper or for my PhD, that primary data became the secondary data because I worked as a research assistant on the British Council report, Careers of Academics in Higher Education. So kindly, if I can switch to the next slide, please. So for this paper, you can see the authors. I was the lead author because it was part of my PhD. Then Dr. Gabriella Caglisi, she is the professor of economics in the University of Sussex. Professor Denise Hawkes, she was my supervisor for the PhD. She is the professor of economics at King's College London. And finally, we had the Dr. Mariam Rab. She is currently the head of research programs, British Council Pakistan. Now, for this paper, of course, the journey was a little different in comparison to the other publications because for other publications, we always target what journal matches with your research profile. But in this situation, I had you can say an advantage that my research was already a funded project, and I was working with different um, collaborators, the co-authors, researchers, and I got an opportunity to go for the collaborative study in Japan, where I met with the Korea University, Beijing Normal University, and many other colleagues who are a part of my, co-authors in other publications. But for this one, Dr. Gabriella, she was the one who joined me for this paper because her expertise was playing with the numerical data, statistical order, and I was more qualitative person. So working with the thematic analysis, that's my forte. I have skills with thematic analysis, but this paper predominantly it was focused on statistical side. Now, Dr. Gabriella kindly, she assisted me with the binomial regression analysis because as I mentioned, like I am more from the qualitative side. And in my research, I had the mixed methods, but even with the mixed method, the statistical or the quantitative survey that I used, it was for the simple descriptive statistics analysis. So her role, Gabriella's, she was corresponding author for this paper. So you can see the rest of the member, like I as a lead author, Dr. Denise Hawkes and Dr. Mariam Rab, they were part of my research journey from the British Council and from the research side, like being my supervisor. So they were my co-authors. Next slide, please. Yes, my biodata is already done. Biography, Dr. Iram has kindly shared. So really thankful for that. I'm a senior fellow member with the HEA, which is the recognition for the pedagogical practices, the teaching practices. So in UK, I am teaching for past 19 years. And in my role as program lead for MBA with the University of Sunderland, but I was a quality lead with the University of Greenwich for about 5 years, but 12 years I spent with the University of Greenwich, and it's almost 3 years now that I've been with the University of Law, the business school, and it's a great opportunity working with or meeting with the new colleagues and making the research collaboration. So in case if anyone would be interested to work and in doing collaboration, more than welcome. You can see my research interest areas. It's like foreign direct investment, international business. I'm a strategist because I'm designing the module for the strategy for about like past 15 years, and did my certification from Harvard University. And that helped me when I was working on this paper, because we were setting a strategies or suggesting to the Higher Education Commission that what could be the best policies to overcome the challenges that the women or the gender differences that could be eliminated, or at least to somehow we can mitigate those challenges. So that was quite useful. So whatever the knowledge I had, not only from the teaching, but also from the research journey, it was quite useful for developing this paper. Thank you, Dr. Iram. Kindly, if you could move to the next slide. The research background. Now, this was quite interesting when I was developing this paper. As I mentioned, that my paper was part of my research PhD thesis. And when I was working on the thesis in UCL, as you know, UCL is not just a Russell Group University. Institute of Education for past consecutive 9 years is #1 in the world for education department. So even being part of Harvard University, when I was doing the strategy, I had many colleagues who were working with the education department. Knowing, collaborating with them, it was great knowledge and understanding that I gained. I learned about the background of writing a paper. When we talk about any paper, when we talk about the research journey, it starts with the identification of a problem, where exactly the problem is. I managed to get the funding. It was because the way we were working together, like I with my supervisor, she was working on the education policies for Pakistan, and we identified that Higher Education Commission, which was found in Pakistan in 2002, they are struggling, they are going through some challenges. And what those challenges are, the higher education institutions who are in, approved by HEC, they are struggling with the progression challenges. Students, they are not progressing. All academics who are sitting at this moment, at this platform, if our students are not progressing, it will have a direct impact on the university ranking or the qualification standards of a university. So it was quite challenging that why the universities are not able to get the good progression. So they realized that maybe it is because that they don't have the right staff member, or maybe the staff members, they need to go through some developed skills. So to develop the skills, they found out that yes, they need to fund more to the right candidate who could go overseas to get the foreign qualification. So when they go for the foreign qualification, they will get engaged with the further social networking. They will be able to learn about the research funding. They will be learning about the publications processes. So in case like they will, this all procedure will enhance their skills. And when these qualified staff members will come back and will start serving in the educational institutions, the progression will be quite high, because students, they will give the right feedback or the positive feedback that the staff members who are teaching them, supporting them, they have the right knowledge. So this was the real background, that I had to identify the problem with HEC, that if HEC, they are focused on sending their scholars to overseas, what exactly the main difference between the foreign qualified person and the domestic qualified person? Those who have done the PhD is in Pakistan, how are they different from the PhDs from the overseas universities? So this was quite important to work on. And I, with the help of my supervisor, we had done a great research. We went through the identification, the right identification, and we contacted with the 32 universities, public state universities in Pakistan, not the private universities, because HEC, although the private universities were also affiliated and recognized by the HEC Higher Education Commission, but the focus was on the funded universities, state-funded universities. So this was the base, and the paper that I published, as I mentioned, like it was just one extract of my PhD. There, when I was in a process of submitting my thesis, COVID started, and COVID came from nowhere. So we just added one element of the COVID impact, that the overseas qualification, where the male dominance was quite high in comparison to the female participation. Why females are not getting the scholarship, why they are not getting equal opportunity to go for the foreign qualification, that set as a foundation. So we went through the identification of these points that could set the preliminary basis for this paper. So HEC policies for the women education, and how do we just focus on the sustainable development goals with one particular area. First, the Sustainable Development Goal 4, which is focused on the quality of education, and the Sustainable Development Goal 5, which is on the equality, the gender equality. So these two Sustainable Development Goals were aligned to write this paper. So if I could jump to the next slide, please. Now, if I just summarize this all, because I'm a teacher who never uses the slides when I'm teaching, so it becomes like a kind of like, restriction to me. I don't like reading. I just go through like, the narrative. And the narrative for my research background is that in Higher Education Commission, there was a problem. And the problem was the progression of the higher education institutions, where they believe that if they are sending the smart people, of course, there was a certain criteria, sending and selecting the people to send to overseas qualification, what that criteria or the policies over the period of time, that's been changed. But I'm talking about 2016 and 2017. So by now, in case if they have made any changes, I'm not aware of it. But by that time, it was like, that some certain experience for the staff members, the qualification, the grade criteria. So based on it all, the students, the selected scholars, they were sitting for the exam. And based on the exam performance, they were asked that within the specific time period, 6 months time period, if you are able to get a place in the certain university. So there was the selected universities which were shared by Higher Education Commission Pakistan to these selected scholarly people. So within time period, if anyone who was lucky enough to get the place, and they got the funding from the universities, from HECs, they were coming, studying. And 2020, 2021, when these scholarly people, they started to go back and start serving in Pakistan, unfortunately, the problem stayed same. Now, domestic qualified people and overseas qualified people, and the progression rate was still same. It was not making any sense. So this is where, for this paper, when the data was collected, it was primary data for British Council report, but the same data, because it was a part of my research proposal, that became a secondary data for my PhD thesis, and similarly the secondary data for this article. According to this, 385 participants who participated in the survey. And unfortunately, I'm not able to share my screen for some reason. Otherwise, I have a poster which was prepared by the British Council, Pakistan, because I mentioned that the data was mixed methods. So we had the surveys, but simultaneously we have interviewed. So qualitative and the quantitative analysis that was done. So in qualitative, the thematic analysis by Brown and Clark 2006, that model was adapted. And according to that model, there were findings that because in Pakistan, the research culture is so infant, that as soon as you are done with your PhD and you are coming back to Pakistan, and immediately you've been given a higher role and still your experience is less, people were not able to perform. So this problem came back as a part of this publication paper, that now we have overseas qualified people and the domestic qualified people, but the problem is still there. Institutions are not progressing not progressing where exactly the problem is. So it was identified that there is a need for the mentoring relationship. Now, if we see, slightly positive impact has been seen between the foreign qualified staff or foreign qualified scholars and the domestic qualified scholars. The male, they are quite high in number to gain the scholarship opportunities going in overseas universities. But more of the participants, they were female, and we identified only 9% of these participants, the sample, they were able to gain the scholarship. They not been considered as a right or accurate participant to go overseas for overseas qualification. So this was all about the data. And as I was predominantly from the qualitative side for the thematic analysis, but this binomial regression, as it was done by Dr. Gabriela for this research paper, I might not be able to go in depth into the quantitative analysis, and that might not be absolutely right for me to go and to say what exactly why the appropriateness. But for the binomial regression, where we have to just reflect the technique for to model that is used to model data, where the response variable represent a count of successes out of a fixed number of independent trials. So we had the specific number of the participants who were involved in the surveys. We had the fixed number of the participants who were involved in the interviews, in-depth interviews, and these interviews were taken from the senior academics. They were mostly the head of academics or the vice chancellors, and the thematic analysis was done. But for these particular results, the findings were focused on that major, no significant differences being found between the domestic qualified and the overseas qualified people, but only certain areas. For example, in terms of gaining the publications opportunity, overseas qualified participants were in advantageous situation. Similarly, with the social networking or to get the membership with the, with different institutions or with different organizations, the overseas qualification was quite useful for the members. But in terms overall, there was no significant difference that's been actually identified. So when no significant difference is being identified between the overseas qualified person and the domestic qualification, then the suggestion was recommended that mentoring relationship in higher education between the senior academics and the junior academics, that could mitigate the challenges. So we actually have seen, yes, the sample representation. Thank you so much, Dr. Iram, to bring it up. So when we are talking about this sample representation, where majority of the representation was coming from the women, and these women, the only 9% sample, they managed to go for the higher education. So you can see the disparity between the male and the female, between the opportunities, getting the opportunities, or gaining the advantages in the higher education or the academic sector. So this sample was gained from the state universities participants. No private universities were involved. So in case if there is any differences or the limitations, that might be because, like, we did not involve the private institutions, and that data was collected by the British Council. So because the British Council, they had their already signed contract, and they hired the people to get all these details and the information from the participants. We used anonymous data, so all the confidentiality as per the British Council's terms and agreements, that was being kept. Now, coming to this final conclusion, that based on whatever the problem was, the literature, it was focused on the crumb and like, because it is not a very detailed paper, the published paper. It's a very concise and comprehensive paper, which is targeting by Emerald, but Emerald open research. And in open research, it's not that we are going to go through the 7,000 words published word where we have specific area for the literature. It was just like giving an idea about the challenges that's been faced in Pakistan higher education and how exactly British Council is getting involved to mitigate those challenges. So if you can see the last paragraph of this conclusion, it is saying that the time UK and Pak Education Gateway is just like Pakistan has signed a contract with China for the CPEC, the Chinese Pakistani Economic Corridor. Similarly, Pakistan has signed a contract with UK where the mentoring relationship was building between the institutions to make the journey further smooth and flawless for the academics. So it could actually bring up the challenges like, for example, why the senior academics, they are not supporting the junior academics. When junior academics, although they have done the qualification from overseas, coming back with the rich knowledge, still not able to serve, and the challenges are persistent, that the institutions are not progressing. Students are still giving the poor feedback. They are complaining about the teaching material. And these staff members, though they are highly qualified, why they are not able to perform? Because there was a gap. And to bridge the gap, mentoring relationship was being suggested. And then the second recommendation was that the higher education institutions, they need to come up with the policies. They need to reinstate, they need to revise, they need to revisit their educational policies, where this challenges of the glass ceiling effect, that why women, they are still behind in terms of targeting the leadership role. We are there, you see the women in the, in the careers, but you won't see them in the top leadership role. Why the challenges are still there, why the barriers are still there to mitigate them, to come up on the top leadership positions. So the policies that the educational institutions and the government, they need to revisit. And the mentoring relationship, that should be part of every single institutions. We talk about being academics, that we need to support and mentor our students, but the same mentoring is needed between the academics. If I'm a qualified person, I'm experienced person, still if I will join a new place, I need some support. And where this support is coming, of course, I cannot jump to my line manager that I am facing this issue, because they may consider, or I have a fear factor that they may not consider that I am not able. So my capability could be challenged. So what I need to do, I need to have someone on my side, formal or informal mentoring or support or the coaching that could actually support that, what challenges and institutions, who is who. So all these point kind of induction, just one day or 1 week is not sufficient. Informal arrangements of mentoring, that could be one of the recommendations to mitigate the challenge. So this is how exactly the recommendations and the suggestions to mitigate the challenges or the differences between the gender, that is part of the Higher Education Commission at the moment in Pakistan, that's been recommended. And COVID didn't help either. There were more and more differences and more gaps. So since that day, we are still working on it. But there is a good news that I would like to share at the end of this, that mentoring officially has become an action point by the British Council in Pakistan. So now Higher Education Commission and British Council has actually launched this mentoring scheme. So the time this paper was published in 2021, since then, now this has become an action research, though this was a very brief paper, but based on this and the British Council report, now the mentoring scheme actually is being launched in the higher education institutions in Pakistan. So which is actually a very progressive point. I think so when we get involved as a researcher with some of the papers, it was not in my mind that what journal is going to be my target journal. because it was part of my research, and getting an opportunity publishing my own thesis in ProQuest or with some other journals, the parts of my research chapters. This one specific chapter was a very, very brief side, which was presenting every single point of my key research aspects, but including a very new dimension, that was the COVID dimension, relating it with the gender biases, that why in academic careers female in Pakistan are still behind, and what was the impact of it. So it was brief but quite comprehensive and had a great impact. So that was all from my end. My sincere apologies for the inconvenience for the facilities that I couldn't share my slides, but thank you so much for Dr. Firdaus and Dr. Iram's support. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Maleeha. Any questions from the participants who want to ask? You can directly ask or you can put into the chat box.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening. My name is Shomik Bakchi. Actually, ma'am, my question to you, ma'am. Is the gender bias can be solved with the help of the mentorship? Means through good mentorship and through the good relation between the parties, between the students and the faculty members. So what type of mentorship means? What are the strategies they have taken to solve a gender bias problem, and also that to make a good relations within the classroom studies?
Thank you so much, Shamik. It's actually a very interesting and a valid question. We can, we always have the strategies around. There can be the positives and the negatives. We don't always say that it's going to be successful. It depends on the decorum. It depends on the setting, that what setting you are talking about. And especially when it comes to the cultural impact, like, I don't know, when we move from culture to culture, we will see the differences in the policies and the implementation, right? So as mentoring in academic sector, now you have given a new dimension, that you are talking about the mentoring between the staff and the students. I was quite concerned that the staff and student, it's going through the formal relationship from the beginning, as a teacher, as a coach, as a mentor, and then formal informal relationship, right? But this was quite lacking between the staff members, the junior and academic staff members. And if you are from academic sector, I think so you can recall the time when first you joined some institution and you were feeling like an alien, that no one is around you to support you, so you should have
Exactly.
someone to guide you, right? So
Exactly. I feel
this
so. Yeah. Exactly, ma'am.
so
You have pointed out the right information. You've extracted the right facts. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
so this
Yeah.
this was my point, that even though if I have experience of being teaching, but as soon as I come to the new institution, that new institution is still a new institution to me, to become familiar with the policies and the regulation of that new place. If I have someone around me with whom I could actually formally, informally discuss, that gives me a kind of peace of mind that what I'm doing is actually right. So I strongly believe that the success of the mentoring relationship between student and staff, and between the staff members, it depends around the setting and the type of person. There are so many cases of the failure of the mentoring relationship. Why? If both sides are not supporting each other, like, for example, informal mentoring, you are trying to approach to some seniors and they are not responding to you, of course it's not going to be useful. But if it becomes like a formal arrangement by the institutions, like now in the UK, it's like a formal arrangement. I, as an associate professor, I get 3 to 4 junior staff members to stay as a mentor, so they can write an email to me. We can meet online once in a month, or just to discuss if everything is okay. So we record like how many times in a year we met. And if this relationship is quite convenient, like I'm a female staff and the male mentee, it's been allocated to me, it's up to us that how we make it comfortable. In case if the other person is not comfortable, or if we find some rift, we can always discuss it with the institution, that yes, I think so the person is not appropriate. The failure goes here as well. So in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, the concept of this mentoring in higher education between academics is still a question, it's not very common, unfortunately. But between the staff and the student, it's always there, in traditional way. As a teacher, we are always supporting them. But when it comes to you, that you've been allocated as an academic coach, like in UK right now we have this system, the mentoring system for the student, that every single teacher has at least 10 to 12 as per our workload, the students allocated to us as a coaches or as a mentees, so they can book an appointment with us once in a month, or we have the teams created where they keep posting if any issues, any challenges, if they need any support. So throughout the year we support them, or throughout their academic journey, like if they've been allocated to us. So I have seen that this has tremendous impact, especially in terms of the progression and the ease of journey to understand the academic understanding as a student, or as an the academic colleague. It does matter. It shows a significant impact. I hope I addressed your question,
Thank
Soumik.
you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much
My
for this
pleasure.
conversation.
Any
Pleasure.
other question? Okay. I think there's no question. So, shall I wrap up the session?
I would like to, share, I would like to have some queries. Well, that's Maleeha. In
Please.
India, we had recently, in 2020, we are having some educational reforms.
Yep.
So, as it is a problem of all South Asian countries, as per the higher
Mm-hmm.
education is concerned, and recently there is going one debate about right teaching pedagogy. So
Yeah.
at primary education level, so the strategy is altogether different, and in higher education. So my question was that in primary education, the students are more dependent on teacher
Yeah.
education. They are having certain targets to pass the exam. They have to fulfill the all guidelines as per the curriculum has been developed for them. So they are teachers, they deliver the lecture and students are receiving the information. But in
Mm-hmm.
higher education, students are coming with some information. They are aware. They are
Yep.
taking decisions. We subject to go and we subject to not to go. And they are choosing, different streams like commerce,
Yep.
physics, chemistry, etc. So, and there, uh, it is a bit, bigger discussion I am taking. So my question is that where now students became independent, they are decision
Mm-hmm.
makers, they are with the choice of, their subject in the classroom, but still they are not performing well.
Yep.
So the question is that we are having unemployment problems
Yep.
and the research which you are, dealing. It is all, case of South Asian or developing countries.
Absolutely
So
right.
the gap which you have, shared that training, lack of exposure in higher education and teachers or some. But what I found, what is my, core question that in our higher education systems,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not particularly talking about India, all South Asian countries.
Yep.
Students are aware, but they are unable to take right career decisions, where
Yes.
to go and all. If we take the example of research, they are lacking. Our teachers are unable to, give them that exposure. So
Mm-hmm.
if they are trained or not trained. So
Mm-hmm.
in India, we are having, I think, more than 100 or 100 plus universities. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
statistics are up and down. So foreign universities are coming in India and to give the exposure to higher education and all.
Yep.
So keeping these, points in view, how we can, try to restrict this gap where students are independent, they are by their own decisions, but they to some extent lack the, performance, or they do not know what career to choose. And it became more complexing after we are having lot of, information technology, AI and all has
Yeah.
changed the job market. So if you can share some, insights with this background.
Sure, sure. Dr. Firdaus, my presentation was quite brief, and I think so it's a beautiful platform and open for discussion. And this is the beauty of sitting to share what exactly the differences between the pedagogical practices and the environment where we are teaching. So let's start with the first point you mentioned about the primary education. Of course, I'm not from the primary education, but I represent the Institute of Education, where I still am the honorary postdoc fellow. And we have the secondary, primary, further education, all the education with the policies. And to be honest with you, if we recall our childhood when we were in the schools and we started to go with A for apple and B for ball and C for cat, right? So we restrict our kids that A for only apple. They don't we don't give them a chance that they become Dora the Explorer, that you just explore, move around, and you do your exploratory study. So basically, the exploratory study that starts from the beginning, right? So here in the UK and in Europe, in United States, if you see the primary schools, kids, they don't have the bags at the back. They go and sit in their classes on their tables. They have all their learning material. And how they play through gamification, experiential learning. Teacher starts with I spy with my little eye, anything that starts with letter A. And all the kids, imagine 2 3 years old kid, they start looking around in the room that what starts with letter A. So they don't restrict that A is only for apple. So this is where our journey starts being exploratory, that you need to start your research. You need to research, right? Then it comes to secondary education, where the kids, they become more into the critical thinking. Now in our countries, unfortunately, even the similar situation is in Pakistan, where in GCSEs or the metric level or the O levels, the qualification has become more objective in nature. Students are not getting an opportunity to go through the essay writing. So when they don't write an essay, they cannot reflect what are they writing, where they are identifying the problem. And based on those identification of a problem, they are building it up, that what exactly their understanding to this problem is, what could be the strategy to fix it, and what could be the solution. They are not able to, think in detail. Coming to the vocational qualification, as you say, that students in India in higher education, they are far behind in terms of the performance, and employability is the main target or main issue. Yes, you are very right. Irrespective of India or Pakistan, like I'm talking about, the South Asia. In UK, these students, when they come for education, like I was the visiting staff in the Queen Mary University. I was in University of Greenwich for about 12 years, then in Sunderland, and now in University of Law. And all through this time, I'm with MBA or MSc program, where most of the students are international students. So I'm getting the students from Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, China. And the one thing that I have seen so far, that still in South Asia, the race for becoming an engineer and doctor, these two genre are very high. We don't see now, right now, as we see Bangalore, they are coming or becoming, or they have become a hub for IT. People are becoming, the software engineers, coming into AI, coming into the digitalization, which is very good. But in our higher education, the main challenge right now is just talking about the pedagogical practices. We need to come out of the traditional methods. We need to go through learning by gamifications. Like right now, simulation. I'm teaching simulation to MBA student for past 13, 14 years, that we create the scenario and they go and play for the consecutive 9 to 12 weeks. And they are the leaders of the certain departments. They are taking decisions, seeing the market scenario, and this market scenario is changing every week, and based on the changing scenario, they are seeing that what is changing. So they talk about the decisions, seeing the problem solving skills, critical thinking skills, change management, and then the negotiation skills, how it reflects into their decisions, and we see their performance. And these students, when they come in here, we see they are very much dependent on us. In UK, For every single thing, we don't appreciate students coming to us. For example, what is the submission deadline for this assignment? We say, you have your module handbook, go and check. Don't come to us. So we have different culture, exploratory culture, where we believe students, they independently, they do their learning. This is why the focus, the study group that we get in the university on campus, 28 hours throughout the term under supervision, the teaching, but 150 plus self-study hours. So if you are independently learning, you are not just staying dependent on someone, on your teacher, that what they will say, what they will tell, you are just going to write the same in the paper. This is where we need to come out of this traditional way of teaching if we want to improve the employability chances, if we want our students that they become like more independent and they go into the employability section, like, and they are quite successful. I think so this need to be aligned with our pedagogical practices, our teaching environment, that needs to be robust. As you just recently mentioned that there were some reforms. I hope like gamification, learning through experiences, live brief. In live brief, what we do, we bring the employers in classes. And the assignment is not just an assignment that they are writing an assignment and they are going to go through the presentation. No, they do a research, going to the workplaces, they meet with those employers, and there is a set restrictions like, okay, how many visits you can go and what times you can go and meet with the employer. And then they prepare their posters, and right now as we are presenting or sharing our journey, students, they go to the poster conference where they share their journey for throughout the term, how they were engaged with employers, what they have done, what the recommendations they have for the problems that they have identified at the workplace. So this reflects like a complete different story where we see the students as like with reflective skills, with the critical thinking, with their leadership skills, and this is what they discuss and negotiate, like, with the rest of the, with the rest of their uh, what shall I say, the colleagues and the students and the peers and employers and institutions. So I think so this should be part of our studies, like our institutions, especially in higher education, the professional practices, because the future is the employability skills. We need to improve the skills.
Yeah, thank you very much for your insight. So if anyone is having any more questions, they can ask. So till then, I can share, some more insights. So what I find, what is lacking in South Asian countries, especially whether it is higher education or primary education. So from management side, there is lack of budget. We are
Yeah.
having limited budget. We are having problems of, management issues. And so I think these things need to be addressed. And in primary
Yes.
education, we are not having seminar or discussion. Although in teaching of education, bachelor's of education, we are telling it B.Ed. So there is, lot of good curriculum which teaches us educational psychology, teaching methods and all. But when we are, exploring the teaching methodologies and all, I believe nobody is, following them. So
Mm-hmm.
that is one of the reasons. And if you are not giving, the awards to the teachers, motivate
Yeah.
them. So primary education or even higher education, we are having, especially in public institution, we are
Yeah.
not having culture of, you know, debates and discussions. They few universities they are having once in a year and all, and they are celebrating some important events like environmental day, drug day, and etc. So they remain focused uh, from the we can say higher education ministry and all. So I believe these are also restricting our learning main as you were mentioning the exploratory learning. So I think we are not having questions, Iram. Then you can conclude.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Maleeha, and thank you so much, Dr. Firdaus, for putting so much insights about why students are not performing. I do have a bit of experience at my university why students are not performing. It is because the social science still are restricted to the theoretical aspect. There is very
Mhm.
less empirical aspect in social science. We have a very much confined curriculum and pedagogy, and students have a weak conscious about self-studies. They are very much
Absolutely, yeah.
into like chat gpt and getting the summaries of the books. So that is a very much prevalent part I have seen in my students. They have restrained themselves from getting into the studies. So it is a very much huge and in-depth debate why they are not performing, why teachers are limited. So I would like to thank Dr. Maleeha Ashraf for beautiful presentation, for sharing your research journey, specifically your paper, and how different intellect women have worked with you on the gender biases, and they were from the field of economics. You have also shared with us your journey with the British Council of Pakistan and how you got funded on your research paper.
Yeah.
And even you have also recommended certain initiatives to the higher education to mitigate the gender biases. And your experiences in difficulty in the research paper also, there's a comparison in your research in overseas and in Pakistan, and how gender biases are still prevalent when we are living in a very
Yeah.
globalization era. So you have highlighted it beautifully, and you have also talked about the mentoring sessions, which is very much in need nowadays, but it is not there on official platforms. So you usually ask in a very informal way, be it between students and teacher or between colleagues. So
Yeah.
usually you get informal inputs that how I have to behave in this very institution. So formally is yet to be get displayed. So thank you so much for your valuable time for your presentation. Now I will conclude over here. I would like to extend my thanks to Dr. Professor Firdaus for giving me chance to deliberate and moderate this session. Thank you, Dr. Maleeha, for letting us know about your insights on your paper. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much once again. As we are concluding, I would also like to give the brief summary about today's session. Although it is one of the burning issues in South Asia, that what are the issues and challenges in higher education. So few of the challenges have been, explored by Professor Maleeha by highlighting gender gap, by highlighting student performance or career opportunities, and why universities especially are not performing well with the case study of Pakistan. I believe this applies to all the South Asian universities or even more developing or underdeveloping countries. So therefore, it was great insights, and I believe it has opened more research questions to address. So those who are interested or passionate to do similar like studies, they can connect with Rachna Mahila to get more insights or to sit out something new. So I am also, trying to address some of these higher education issues because there is one of the biggest conferences coming in India, Punjab, and it is Punjabi University, Patiala in India. So they are having one big conference upcoming in the month of October where they are trying to address rural issues, higher education and all. So we will be trying to political economy with respect to Jammu and Kashmir and what is the performance of education. So it brings, new research idea that how to deal with. So, so thanks for bringing such an important, research insights where I have learned personally, and I hope all other participants they have learned that get the gist that how to start, how we can make a multidisciplinary research where to incorporate gender, education, performance of institutions. It was all the summary of today's session. So we are very thankful, Dr. Mahila, for joining us, for your valuable time and sharing your insights. We are looking forward more in future events to explore more learning is from your research publication. And on the contrary, we are also thankful to Dr. Iram Saba as always she is there for us to share her insights, running the sessions, moderating them. So we are very thankful for your, important time, precious time, and sharing the insights that the experiences of higher education in Jammu and Kashmir. So thank you very much
Thank
on behalf of all the organizing institutions, starting from Jammu and Kashmir Economic Association, SSHI, Global Research Firm, Crescent University, Chennai, School of Business, Manav Rachna University, Faridabad, and Vocational College, Delhi University. We are very thankful and we are looking forward to more future collaborations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a great pleasure meeting you.